in listen-only mode.
Good evening and welcome to our Destination Imagination Colorado webinar for the Technical Challenge Creature Feature. We are here tonight with our three wonderful affiliate challenge masters for this challenge, Larry, Bill, and Dave. My name is Kate, and I will be taking questions from you during the webinar. So if you have any questions at any time, just go ahead and write them in the question box, and we will get them answered when it's appropriate. Thank you all for coming. I know we have people from Texas and Ohio and Wyoming, as well as all over the state of Colorado. So we're really glad that you guys could attend our webinar tonight, and I will let our wonderful affiliate challenge masters of Larry, Bill, and Dave take it over.
Hey everybody, my name is Bill Hickam. I'm an affiliate challenge master for the Technical Challenge. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through the challenge piece by piece. But before we do that, I kind of wanted to start with some general information on where to get info, how to get some questions answered, some stuff like that, then give you an idea kind of the overall picture of the Technical Challenge this year, kind of from 30,000 feet, the different parts and pieces, how they work, how they go together, what particularly makes the Technical Challenge unique from the other challenges. And then we'll probably go ahead and dive straight into the challenge, go through those parts piece by piece, answer any questions. And by the way, if you do have questions, go ahead and type them in the box while we're going, and Kate will interrupt us. I'm used to being interrupted, so there's no problem there. So definitely don't hold on to your questions. We'll either answer them as they come up or let you know that we'll kind of cover them later. So just starting on this kind of the first screen there, again, the Colorado Affiliate Challenge Masters, that's Larry, myself, Bill, and Dave. There's our emails are up there next to us. Also the DI Colorado homepage. That's got a lot of important information. The DI homepage, you've probably found both of those, and just so you know, I'll probably be referring to that. The DI Colorado homepage is the Colorado page, and the other one is the global page, just because that's kind of a little bit more about the whole, the global. It's for the global level. I guess go ahead. Yep, our next slide there. For our Colorado folks, these are our regional challenge masters, so go ahead, and it looks like we lost some formatting there, but go ahead and take a look, find your region, and go look over there. If you don't have that information on the emails for your regional challenge masters, go ahead and jot that down. I'll kind of give you a second. But these are also the people that you can contact for questions, especially kind of to do with the venue, the schedule, or a good point of contact, even if you have general questions. We may end up kind of passing it on and kicking it up the line, but for your region, those are the folks that you should be in contact with. So next slide. Some more information. You can download a copy of this webcast in case you get cut off or fall asleep or something like that on the DI Colorado page. That's also going to be available on the YouTube channel, which is listed down below. You find your regional website on the Colorado page. If you go to regions, you should be able to find your regional website. That's going to have information on tournaments, some other information. And then clarifications and current info are on the global page. You guys have probably already found that. I don't think you can get the challenge or anything like that without finding that page, but you also find the clarifications, and the important thing is the deadline for submitting the clarifications is February 15th, and that's going to come up quickly on us. And now is a good time to kind of mention that clarifications are really the only way to get the official information. Everything we say tonight is actually not official. The official documents are the challenge and the clarifications only. The clarifications are going to come directly from the International Challenge Masters, the ICMs. So if any information doesn't come from the ICMs or the challenge itself, then it's really kind of not official and not binding, so keep that in mind. So as that February 15th deadline comes up, that's the last chance to have kind of a direct line to the ICM, so really take advantage of that. And that is a little bit early in the process, so if you think you have a question, I would definitely encourage you ask a clarification. You don't want to be regretting, a little bit down the line not having taken advantage of that. So we do have a YouTube channel. You can search Destination Imagination Colorado on YouTube, and it should come right up. There's all sorts of stuff. These webcasts are on there. There are other kind of informative videos, some marketing stuff, some old performances. There's lots of cool stuff to go and take a look at on there. And then if you don't have enough media, there's also Twitter feeds, Facebook pages. I also recently found out I think there's an Instagram account, so plenty of places to get your DI fix. Next slide. Okay, so getting into the challenge this year, for those of you who are experienced team managers, this is probably a bit of a review, but for those of you who are new especially, I think, there's two main elements to the challenge, and that's the team challenge and the instant challenge. We're going to be talking tonight exclusively about the team challenge. And that's the part that is unique to the technical challenge. So inside that team challenge, which this year is Creature Feature, we have two parts. The central challenge, that's kind of the heart of the technical challenge. It's what makes the technical challenge unique. Those parts of it change from year to year. And every year they're different, every year they're unique. And then the other part of that team challenge are the team choice elements 1 and 2. And we'll go over this in a lot more detail as we kind of go forward. But that central challenge this year is for the team to create a creature that performs actions in a world setting with world features, and all that's tied together with a story of adventure. And inside that, too, you're going to have team choice element 1, team choice element 2. And so this is just kind of the main points, and you'll notice as we go through, we keep touching on them as we go through. Central challenge, creature, world feature, story, team choice 1, team choice 2. You'll keep seeing those come up both in the challenge and the scoring. So if anybody has any questions about this, maybe confusion of the different parts of the challenge, it would be a good time to ask. And if we don't have any, then we can go on to the next slide, which is what's so technical about the technical challenge? Well, what makes the technical challenge unique is that the creature actions and the world features are going to be scored based on technical methods, technical innovation, and technical design. Again, we're going to go over this as we go through the challenge, but keep in mind as we go through, these are the things, and these definitions are taken straight from the challenge. So we'll see them again. But this is the main part and the core that makes the technical challenge unique. So we're about to get into that. We're going to start looking at the challenge page by page, examine the parts and pieces. So if you guys have any questions up front before we do that, or anything either Larry, Dave wants to add, otherwise we'll go in and we'll start looking at the challenge page by page.
If anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the question box and we'll let them know. Dave and Larry, why don't you also introduce yourselves?
Okay. Hello, I'm Larry Lepthine, one of the affiliate challenge masters. This is my third and final year at this position. I rotate out after this, but I'm also the most experienced one here now, so I've seen it, a lot of it, and I've been doing DI for a little over 20 years now. Well, actually the predecessor program plus DI for about 20 years. And I've been in the technical challenge since the year 2000. So I can tell you that this is going to be a very unique technical challenge in that there are no picky details. Technical challenge was notorious for having lots of picky details. This year, hardly any. So it'll be a fun one to do. Anyway, I'll submit to Dave for the rest of it.
Well, good evening, everybody. This is Dave Hogsett. I'm the newest Associate Challenge Master for the technical area. I'm also Regional Challenge Master for the Boulder area here in Colorado, so we'll see everybody at the Boulder tournament who's in Boulder training that's associated with that area. Been with DI for about 10 years in lots of different capacities, including parent and team manager and so forth. And across many of the different challenges, not just technical, but a number of them. So thank you for joining us.
Well, so I think I should probably also, I'll introduce myself again, Bill Hickam, but I'm also the Regional Challenge Master for Southwest Colorado and have been involved with DI now, I think, 6 years as an appraiser and challenge master. So originally with the structural challenge, but I made the switch to the technical because it is the best challenge. So we're just going to kind of run through the challenge materials here. And again, if anybody has questions, please do ask. Go ahead and stop us. So starting up, the first is it's an 8-minute time limit. And just to clarify that, the entire team challenge happens in that 8 minutes. Central challenge and those team choice elements, they're all in the 8 minutes. So when you arrive at the regional tournament, be ready for that. And then kind of the challenge approach, they're saying the challenge can be solved on many levels, simple to complex. I'm not going to go ahead and just read, but again, they reiterate here, if you find any of the details of this challenge unclear, ask that clarification. You can go to the website, the global website, and go ahead and follow the procedure to ask clarification and get that taken care of. I guess we'll go straight to the next slide.
Well, why don't we talk about team budget for just a second?
Okay.
I can talk about that if you like.
Sure. Yeah.
Total value of materials used may not exceed $175 US. There are a lot of exclusions from this. Look in the rules of the road. You will find out that things like tables, chairs, normal street clothing, DI shirts, batteries, safety equipment are all excluded elements. You don't have to cost them out. And what you actually have to do with the materials you use, let's say you go down to the local Home Depot and you buy a sheet of plywood, but you only use 1/3 of it. Well, you only have to cost out 1/3 of it. And to put that in as the amount that you actually used. And tax is not included. If you order it online, shipping is not included in that amount. So $175 will take you a long way, generally. A few of the teams run up against that limit, but not too many. So, like I say, there is a lot more information about that in the rules of the road, which everybody should read through at least once.
Okay, and so real quick, the points of interest on this, which I think is actually the page up from what we're looking at right now. And that's a good kind of summary. So again, build a creature that uses technical methods to perform team-chosen actions, present a story of adventure with the creature as a character, and use technical methods to demonstrate features of a world where the story is set, and create and present 2 team choice elements that show off the team's interests, skills, areas of strength, and talents. And again, we're kind of hitting those same creature, story, features of the world, and the team choice elements that we talked about as part of the team challenge. So
all right. Just a quick, there's a question that says, when it says 8 minutes, does that include the setting up? So the kids bringing the props on and setting up their props and their technical devices, is that included in your 8 minutes?
No, that is not. So
yes, it is.
Well, actually, sorry, I should back up. So the way it's going to work is you'll have a staging area where the team will be allowed to kind of stage everything. It's usually off to the side of the performance area. The team will be announced, and then time will start. At which point, the team does have to bring their props, everything onto the performance area, and so that is part of the 8 minutes is staging and getting those things ready. So, sorry, I misspoke.
Can adults help set up?
Adults can help move things around before time begins. That's correct, right?
Yeah, into the prep area. They can move things into the prep area.
Right, but once time starts, it is strictly the team responsible for moving and setting up and anything they need to do.
Right, and the only thing you're going to see on the floor this year, on the gym floor or performance area floor, is a launch line. It's a line where the team will move their... Hang on a second, just had a cat land on my lap. Where the team will move into the prep area, they'll be checked in by the prep area appraiser. They will take their props and sets and everything to the launch line, and then when time starts, they move across the launch line out of the performance area, and 8 minutes runs as soon as they move across the line.
Right.
Okay. That's it for now.
Okay. Go down, I think, just to the beginning of I think it's page 17. So again, the intent of the challenge: to solve this challenge, the team's going to be designing and building a creature that uses technical methods to perform specific team-related creature actions. The team must also present a story of adventure that has the creature as a character and is set in a world portrayed by the team. The team will use technical methods to demonstrate features of the world where the story of adventure is set. And I think with that, I'm going to hand off to Larry, and he's going to go over the creature.
Okay. The creature. The team must design and build a creature that uses technical methods to perform 3 different creature actions during the presentation. The creature can be real or imaginary. By imaginary, we mean a product of the imagination, not totally imaginary, as in an invisible pink unicorn. We have to be able to see the creature to be able to evaluate it. So the appraiser, it has to be a real creature, but it can be a product of your imagination. The intent is for the team to design and build all parts of the creature using the team's ideas and skills. The team may incorporate commercial produced devices, but only the modifications and additions made will be scored for technical design and technical innovation. At this point, I might give you a little caveat. A real temptation for the team is going to be to take a radio-controlled car, take the body off of it, and make that their creature. There's nothing illegal about this, but it's not going to score very high. It's got wonderful technical stuff, but it isn't the team's tech. They didn't do anything. They didn't understand it. They're just using it. It's off the shelf. The second problem with radio-controlled vehicles is we cannot control for other people using radio-controlled vehicles in the same venue. This has happened before, about 5 or 6 years ago. There were lots of them, and we had lots of cross-control. In other words, the team puts their creature out on the floor, and it starts running away without any activity because the team performing in the next bay over is also using the same frequency and type of controller, and they're controlling their vehicle as well as your creature. So this is something to consider. We can't control for that. So it's a attempt to be avoided if you can. Then, there are 3 creature actions that must be in the following categories. 1, moving. 2, communicating. 3, eating or consuming. 4, creating or building. And 5, team defined. Try not to read this with too broad a brush. Not all of them involve movement necessarily, and the team must carefully define what they are talking about so that the appraisers can evaluate it. For instance, let us say you have a creature which has a tail, and the action is creature wags tail. Well, that's perfectly good, but wait a minute. Wagging the tail is emotion. Wagging the tail could also be communication. It's telling you it's happy. It could be one or the other, but it can't be both. So the team must very carefully define what constitutes motion, what constitutes communicating. And I'm sure the appraisers will be talking to the team prior to the performance and carefully reading their description of what's going on so that they can figure out what they're supposed to be seeing. Creature actions can be performed in any order. Each category can be used once. That's pretty straightforward. And if more than one creature action is from the same category, only one will receive points for successful completion. Now, we have had a question, for instance, about moving. Let's say your creature walks across the floor. It's allowed to receive bonus points for a second moving action after all the first three are done, but it has to be essentially the same. If it flies, well, flying isn't walking, so it wouldn't get the bonus points. However, if you carefully define moving as something like using the creature's appendages, it will move from point A to point B. Then, if it has wings and it has feet, and it uses both, you could conceivably get points like that. If you're going to do something like that, please get a clarification ahead of time. It's kind of like using a trick play in football. Let the officials know what you're up to, and they won't be surprised, and you won't risk a deduction. So, the team must use technical methods to initiate, operate, or produce all three creature actions. Team members may be involved, but they cannot be the creature. The less involvement and the less direct action the team takes, the higher the technical score. So,
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I can't see. You probably want me to move that.
Oh, okay. I actually have some of this blocked on my screen, so I'm reading it off of a cheat sheet that I've got here in front of me. So the team must carefully define successful completion of all actions, so it's obvious to the appraisers when the action is successfully completed. If they don't see it, they can't score it. One other one, just to give you another example of something where you might get into trouble. If your team defined action is reproduces, let's say, and your creature lays an egg, and the second time it tries to do the reproduction action, it splits into two. You're going to have a tough time with that, getting points for the second one, because it isn't the same type of action. It doesn't involve the same sorts of motions and sorts of equipment. So again, maybe you can carefully define it and you can get points for it, but generally speaking, it's best to do them over again if you're going to be certain of getting scored for it. Let's see. The team will earn points for the successful completion of each creature action, and then, of course, the technical and design innovation, and these scores will be based on the methods actually attempted during the presentation. In other words, you have to attempt it. If it doesn't work, but you still attempted it, we can still give you scores, not for the completion, but for the technical. If you don't even try it, then we can't score that either. So, again, it's important that every action be at least attempted. And then we can go down a little bit further. Once the team has successfully completed all three actions, the team can earn repeated action bonus by successfully completing any of the creature actions a second time. The team may earn repeated actions bonuses one time for each of the three different actions. The same technical methods must be used to complete each action, and they can be repeated in any order. So this is the only really picky detail in the entire challenge, is that you have to use essentially the same technical methods for the repeat as you did for the initial one. So that is the creature. I will hope there are any questions. I'll be very happy to answer.
I have a couple of questions. One is, my team was thinking about using a Boy Scout Derby car for a base. If they build it and they know, will that work?
Well, that's a good question. Anything can be used as the base, and if it was home built and pre-used, I don't think that would result in any problems. I mean, the base for the creature can be anything. That's the nice thing about this challenge. It's wide open.
And then the next one is, if the team's butterfly flaps its wings as it moves across the stage, can the team-defined action be flapping wings, and the fact that it moved across the stage be movement, or would flapping wings be considered movement? That's probably a clarification more than...
Yeah, that sounds like it. flapping wings is a movement. Moving across the floor is a movement. So you have to decide which one you're going to use, I suspect.
Kevin, I would definitely go get a clarification on that one. The question regarding the Boy Scout Derby car, she's curious if that would score sort of well or sort of not well.
Well, a Pinewood Derby car is basically a gravity-operated device, and gravity is nice and reliable. It isn't terribly high-tech. So if it was a wind-up car or a motor-driven car, it'd probably get a higher tech score than if it's just a gravity-powered car. On the other hand, it's tactics. What does the team want to do? Do they want to do a lot of work, or are they after a simple, more reliable solution? There's a lot of strategy involved here.
And I guess the only other part I would add is, since that is a subjective score, it's pretty difficult to try and anticipate what our appraisers on the day may think of that.
Okay, what would be an example of a user-defined action?
Okay, well, I'll use the same one I gave. The creature wags its tail. This is a communication. It means the creature is happy. So there's the action.
Well, yeah,
and there is what the category it belongs into, which is communication. So.
Well, it's any action that doesn't fit into the first four, I think, or just, yeah, that's a team-defined action.
So any that's not in the four that are out here.
Right. If you have something, like I said, reproduces, if you want it to make more of itself, you can use that as a new category. You could define it yourself and define how it meets that category.
Right. Yeah, I think Larry has it. As long as you can kind of define what it is on your product data or
tournament data form.
Tournament data form is what I'm looking for, and then also define kind of, what it means to complete that action. Then yeah, team defined can really mean anything.
All right, that's all the questions. Oops, wait. Keith is asking a question. We were waiting for your question, Keith. What guidance do you have for incorporating prefabricated modular components such as Arduino boards, corresponding code libraries, PCBs, sensors, etc.? What is considered original and creative, and what is not?
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I guess this doesn't necessarily directly address the question, but I think sometimes it's important, especially for new team managers, to realize, after the presentation is over, after the performance is over, our appraisers are going to come and they're going to speak to the team, and they're going to go through. And so when you're talking about the Arduino boards and some of the other things involved, we're going to talk to the team and understand, how they programmed it or maybe didn't program it. And, so it really depends on how they apply it and how they're able to kind of discuss, how much of the technical maybe they were involved in, and then maybe how much they, because, and I don't want to, kind of step over a boundary here, but sometimes we do get, I went on the internet and I copied basically, and that's obviously, as opposed to somebody who did a lot of trial and error, who really took the time to study, those are all technical methods. Those all qualify under what we're looking for.
Right. The other thing, as far as the computer control and onboard controls, as far as boosting your technical scores, of course, the more the merrier. The less the input that the team has to provide for the creature, the higher the technical scores are going to be. And like my example of the radio-controlled car, well, that's all of a piece, On the other hand, if you have a separate radio controller and you've got servo motors and you've got various controls, computer controlled or wire controlled, things on your vehicle, that's less less preformed. It's more. There's more team involvement. There's more. They built more of it. They own more of the solution, so they get higher scores.
Yeah, I think it is interesting to clarify what you just said, Larry, because I think it is how much the kids have ownership and control over that solution. So if they have just downloaded a solution from the web and learned how to program, program something exactly as someone could find it on the web, that is less creative. It's someone else's work as opposed to the trial and error that you guys were talking about. So being technical doesn't always mean, technical has a technical methods has a definition, and technical technical design is reliability, but technical innovation can be a lot of risk taking and a lot of other ways where it's not just something that you program. That is, what am I trying to say? That someone else programmed for you and you're just copying the program down. Does that make sense? Did I say that right?
Right, exactly. The more of it that the team owns, the more that they did on their own, the higher the score they'll get.
Yeah. Is it considered direct contact to control a creature by pushing buttons?
That's going to be up to the appraisers as to how much. Obviously, pushing buttons is a little more direct control than if the buttons or switches are located on a control panel that's somewhere back and connected by wires or by radio. So that's going to be subjective, and it depends on what else they've seen that day. Partly, it's certainly more indirect than shoving the vehicle around with a stick, for instance, to get it to move. So yes, pushing buttons is a better solution than a direct control. On the other hand, there are even more indirect ways to do it. So it's a good solution. It may not be the highest scoring solution, but probably a good one.
How far can we instruct the kids about ways to get the actions completed?
I'm a little unclear. Repeat that again, Kate?
The question is, how far can we instruct the kids about ways to get the actions completed?
Well, they should know when the action's completed. What you may have to do is ask some sort of leading questions so that they put the description down so that the appraisers can easily see that the action's been completed. The action is two parts: doing it and meeting the description that you gave.
Okay, she just clarified her question. I know it has to come from the kids, so what can we teach them about how to perform actions? So, Danielle, this is when your questioning is going to really help the team. So one of the things you want to do first off is just brainstorm with your students about how everything moves and what they know about and what, like, let's just say, and this is just an example, wind power or hydraulic power, water power. They know boats move through water. They've probably seen water move through tubes. They've probably seen water push things. So, but they might not know how to do that. So, but they might come up with it as an idea that they would want to pursue. So then you can figure out, then you can actually teach them how hydraulic power works. And then they have to implement their own solution if that's what they choose to do. So you are allowed to teach them the skills. So you're allowed to teach them how magnets work or how motors work. But if they're actually going to build a motor from scratch, they need to build it from scratch.
Let me also say that, I keep saying this, a successful team will have a team manager who has a garage full of stuff. If they got stuff that they can play with, they can play around with. If you have a solenoid, if you have an electric air valve, if you have various bits and pieces that the team can plug in, turn on, see what it does, that inspires them to incorporate it into their creature. And to some extent, it's a matter of being a grandmaster scrounger, picking up stuff at garage sales and junk drawer. Don't throw it away if it's got a motor in it. Put it in the junk drawer. We'll let the DI team look at it, see if they can figure out a use for it. One of my team's more successful solutions involved a bunch of motors and stuff taken off a power seat that someone was throwing away. It was the thing didn't work. The upholstery was shot. They threw it in the trash. I fished it out of the trash, took it home, and the team took it apart and got all the little 12-volt motors and lifters and things off that power seat and built a spider robot out of it. So you have to be, like I say, a scrounger. You have to have a pile of stuff they can sort through and pick through and try out. They aren't going to be able. Some of them won't have an idea until they've looked at it and played with it for a while.
I was going to add to that when managing teams, and of course it depends on their age and level of experience. They'll say, I want to learn how to cut a straight line in wood, and you can show them all the steps necessary for cutting a straight line in wood. Or they want to know a little bit more about electricity, how to make a circuit, do soldering. All of those individual elements and skills, that's really the learning part of DI that's wonderful to bring to the teams. But when it comes down to cutting the straight line, soldering or connecting the wires on the solution they present, that's when the team members should be taking over and using what they learned with their own hands and their own ingenuity to put together the final solution. So lots of opportunities to teach them the skills and the pieces, but when it comes to how should these pieces go together and then actually putting them together, that's really where you want the kids to step forward and take the ownership.
That's all the questions that are there right now.
Okay, so kind of moving on through the central challenge. Next up is the world. So the world, there's going to be a lot of similarities between the world and the creature. The team will portray a real or imaginary world that's a setting for the team's story of adventure. Again, real or imaginary, similar to the creature. And the team must use technical methods to demonstrate two world features during the presentation. World feature cannot be the same as a creature action. Each world feature can be real or imaginary. A team member cannot be a world feature. So there's examples there of world features. And then as we move down, team members, again, may be directly involved in those technical methods, but more direct involvement results in lower scores. That's similar to the creature. The technical design and innovation of the world features, those scores are going to be higher if the team members are less involved, similar to the same way with the creature actions. And the intent is for the team to design and build all parts that demonstrate the world features using their own ideas and skills. That's exactly what we've just been talking about. Sticking with the creature, if we see a lot of prefabbed items, that tends to, we're going to start asking and trying to understand, which technical skills they used, putting those together. And I think on our next slide, we're actually going to look at the technical, the definitions of those again. But so the more that they're able to, that's a product of their own ideas and their own work, then that's going to score better. And again, similar to the creature, the team must carefully define successful demonstration of each world feature on the terminant data form, and that you really want to make it obvious to the appraisers when each world feature has been demonstrated, because they're going to need to be able to see that to score it. So more specific, kind of a more objective maybe is maybe a better way to make sure that they're defining that, just to make sure that the appraisers are able to score those correctly. And so the team earns points for the successful demonstration of the world features and the technical design and innovation of the world features. And again, similar to the creature, These scores are based on the technical methods actually attempted during the presentation. So they've got to make that attempt during the 8 minutes in order for that particular world feature to be scored.
I would like to break in for just a moment about things that pertain to the sites. Let's say that your world features, your team's world features, are going to be an erupting mud volcano and a flowing river. You're going to have to talk to the regional directors or regional challenge masters and affiliate challenge masters to make sure that these things are going to remain contained and not get on the floor, because we do this in gyms and we cannot have any destruction or damage to the floor. So there are a number of things that we have discovered over the years that do not work, and we won't allow them if we see them. So if you have something that's going to get onto the floor, check ahead of time to make sure it's going to be allowed. We'd hate to have to stop a presentation because, you know, the mud is overflowing your tarp and it was getting on the gym floor, and now it's a disaster. I mean, you can have things that get on the gym floor, for instance, like maybe there's a confetti cannon that shoots sparklies into the air. If you have one of those, I want to see a shop vac to help clean up, because the team has to leave the presentation floor in the same condition it was when they got there. And it can't take forever either, because we have to stage these teams at 20 or 22-minute intervals, so we can't have a lot of time for cleanup.
Yeah, that is important. We've had to stop presentations. We really do want everybody to be able to perform, but if you're damaging the sites, most of these sites are donated, and you really have great sites that we like to come back to. So a good rule of thumb is if you would be worried about it on your wood floor in your living room, then I'm going to be worried about it in the gym. Most of the venues, not all are gyms, so I'm going to be worried about it on the gym floor. So.
Okay, I have a lot of questions about the world, and I think just about technical stuff in general. If the team is using a pulley and lever system, but they are operating the pulley and lever system, are they getting deductions because they're operating it?
Well,
no deduction.
No, not deduction.
I wouldn't say a deduction. You know, I mean, obviously they're going to have to at some point put this thing in motion, but you know, I'm trying to find it there. I mean, more direct involvement. I mean, if you can find a way to do less direct involvement, that's going to score better. You know, and kind of looking at the technical methods. I mean, you know, obviously the pulleys and stuff are going to qualify under kind of mechanical engineering, physics, that kind of thing. So that would, you know, that would score for technical methods.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with using a human power source. It doesn't have to be battery powered or plug-in. It could be entirely human powered, and it could be quite technical. But again, the less direct involvement, the higher the score.
And that also differs between an 8-year-old and an 18-year-old as well.
Sure.
Yes.
Please define more direct involvement by team members may result in lower score. I think we kind of did that. Jane,
let me give you an example. Can I do that?
Yeah, of course you can.
You've got a creature, and you got a kid that's sitting inside the creature, and it's got the tail that's going to wag. Okay, and if the kid grabs hold of a little lever inside and pulls it back and forth, and that wags the tail, that's pretty direct involvement. If, let's say, there's a solenoid inside, and a team member sitting over on the edge of the performance area pushes a button which activates a solenoid, which pushes back and forth on the tail and makes it wag, that's less direct involvement. If there's a computer chip inside that's doing a timing function, and at 2 minutes into the performance, it switches on a little gear mechanism that operates a solenoid and wags the tail, that's really no direct involvement. So it's a matter of degree.
All right. Okay, I think she answered her own question. How are the world actions different from the creature actions?
let me start by saying that you're reading with too broad a brush. Actions, the world doesn't necessarily have to have any actions at all. It could, for instance, have a chasm with a bridge over it, and the creature has to cross the bridge. The bridge is a technical element. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't have an action, but it's there. And so don't automatically assume something has to move or blink or flash to be an action.
Yeah, well, and I think Larry hit. I mean, it's a world feature, really. You know, you'll have, the creature is going to be its own entity, and then you're going to have a world that has these features, which are going to be separate from what that, the creature actions.
The creature has to interact with the world, but it doesn't mean that the features have to be active features necessarily. Although maybe if they were, it'd score higher. Just a lot of that depends on the technical elements involved.
Okay. That's all for questions right now?
Okay. So yeah, well, here quickly we are back at the same technical methods, technical innovation, technical design that we had. So these are going to be how your creature actions, your world features, that's going to be the basis for the scoring. So yeah, go through those. I'm not going to go ahead and just read them, but you can see that level of complexity, level of riskiness, originality, creativity, all those things are going to be weighed when it comes time to score.
Sorry.
So the next part of the team challenge is the story. The team needs to create a story of adventure with the creature as the character, set in the world. The story of adventure is team defined, and the team will describe the story on the tournament data form. The creature must have a role in that story. The team creature actions and world features must be integrated into the story of adventure. And we get quite a few questions about kind of integrated. I mean, all this has to happen in the eight minutes, so you want those creature actions and the world features and the story to kind of all come together. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they happen kind of different parts of the performance area and don't seem to really affect one another. But the integration is going to be a part of that scoring. Excuse me. So you want that story to kind of tie everything together. And the team will earn points for the creativity of the world, creativity of the creature's role in the story, the integration of the creature actions and world features into that story, as well as clear and effective storytelling. I think another thing that's kind of related, just to kind of let you guys know, some of these venues can be kind of big and noisy, so the team should be prepared for that. Like I said, they were gyms, and a lot of times the voices kind of get lost, so it's good to have the team just prepared for that, especially if you're practicing in a small space.
And really don't worry too much about that, because the appraisers will be moving around. They're going to get as close as necessary to see what's happening and hear what's happening. The audience information might suffer a little if the kids are a little stage shy, but we'll make every attempt to hear it and see it as it happens. Also, basically the entire gym floors are going to be available for performance. We're not going to tape anything. The team can set up wherever they want to. It would be nice if they would set up sort of close to the audience. They can see what's happening. But we have had shy teams that set up in the far corner of the gym and did their entire performance there. No penalty for that. The appraisers all walk over and see it. The audience is kind of scratching their heads, but that's okay. It's whatever the team wants to do.
Right, and the minimum size for the presentation area is 20 by 20. If you do need more space than that, you definitely need to talk to the RCM, but the chances are, I mean, Mike Larry said most of these venues, we've got a lot of space, and there's no limit on how much of that space the team can use. Okay. Do we have questions on story, or should we go move into team choice elements? Larry, do you want to?
Yes, I'll do the team.
that?
Oh, stop.
Bill, were you or not Bill? I'm sorry, Dave. Were you talking?
No, ma'am.
Oh,
Okay.
I wanted to say though, some of these other questions, if you are a brand new team manager and you're uncertain about interference, integration, all those things, next week we are doing a webinar that just answers those questions about how to do DI, how to do inquiry-based learning, what the creative process is, what is integration, what is interference, and that's next week on a webinar, and you get to listen to my voice the whole time. So be prepared for that. But if you have those kinds of questions, it's a great place to get those answered.
Okay, I guess we'll go to team choice elements. This is another section where the team can show off their special skills and talents. They're pretty much anything that the team wants to define, and they should be integrated into the story and into the performance, but they don't have to be anything in particular. And they're scored on creativity and originality, quality work and workmanship, and integration. And just to give you my classic example, let us say the team wants to sing a song, and they have a song that they sing that's a Disney song, and they sing it, and this is nice, and they will get scored for that. But let's say they're a little more creative. They want to sing some parody lyrics to a Disney song and make fun of something. Well, this is allowed, and that's more creative. But let's say they go even one step further. They write the music and the lyrics to the song. We're getting a lot of creativity and originality here. And let's say not only do they do that, but they perform it on instruments that they built themselves. Okay, now you're getting up into the 30-point range here because they're doing workmanship and quality and creativity and originality, and if it integrates well, that's going to be a big score for a team choice element. The only thing that team choice elements cannot be is something that's already scored as a required part of the challenge. You will note that the creature actions are part of the central challenge. The creature description is not. So you can take that for what you will.
Okay.
Yeah, we get a lot of questions in our region about the team choice elements, and I think maybe a good rule of thumb often is, and people always come, what can we use as a team choice element? What should our team choice element do? To me, what I normally tell them is if there's something that the team spent a lot of time on that they don't feel like they're being scored on, that is a choice element. If it's something that they put a lot of work into and that work shows and they're not able to be scored on it, then I think that tends to be a perfect team choice element.
One other thing I should mention here, again, you must be fairly specific in what you want scored. For instance, if you say costumes, we will evaluate all of the appraisers will evaluate all of the costumes and average over them. If you want a specific costume, for instance, the hamster in the spacesuit to be evaluated, that's what you have to say, the costume of the hamster in the spacesuit. Then we'll only look at that and evaluate that.
Do we have any questions on team choice?
Nope.
Okay.
Let's
So we
see.
talked a little bit about the presentation area. I don't know if anybody.
I got to catch up to you. You guys, the presentation area will most likely, as you said, be a gym. I can't seem to get there.
And if you do have any questions, your RCMs are a good person to get in touch with.
Occasionally, it's an sort of a, I don't know, small performance room instead of a gymnasium, or it might be a large concrete floored atrium of some sort. We don't always have gyms available, but most of the time, and certainly by the time you get to the state tournament, it will be a gym floor. It'll be a wood floor.
Okay.
And electrical power, you'll have a single 3-prong electrical. That'll be at the edge of the presentation area, usually at the end of a extension cord for the team to be able to plug into.
Again, just a little bit of sort of general advice based on previous catastrophes. If you're going to be using extension cords, have the team practice with the extension cords. My sister bought brand new extension cords for the tournament one year, and they were so stiff the kids could not get them to plug in. So practice with what you're going to use. It makes a big difference. Murphy always shows up at tournaments.
Do you feel like it is best for students to determine their team choice element before they do the world or the creature?
I don't know that it really matters. I mean, whatever, I guess however that kind of works. I don't know that it's better one way or the other.
Yeah, they will determine that sort of as they go along, I think. As they work towards the solution, they will see what things are sort of outstanding and that they want to highlight, and those were the ones that they should pick for the team choice elements.
Well, and I guess just keep in mind that team choice element has to be integrated into the presentation. So that may affect when you choose your team choice element.
Some people choose them before they start as a matter of like, here's our plan for the whole project when they're doing their plan. Some people take when they've completed a project and find the team choice elements that are within it, and both can be successful. But it should be thought about at some point. I would say while you're working on it, you don't want to pick it after the whole thing is completed, because if you want to develop something a little bit further, you want to have times to do that. Can teams bring their own extension cords? I don't even know this one. Can teams bring their own extension cords at a splitter to allow for more outlets?
A good question, and yes, they can. We should maybe at this point take a quick look. Did you
I
some
do.
of the things from the rules of the road about electrical safety? We'll just talk about that just a little bit, because a fair number of teams will be using electricity, I suspect, in this challenge, one way or another. So if we can scroll down a little bit.
We're going to find it.
Oh.
What page was it on, my friend?
Ouch.
Here it is. Safety guidelines and restrictions.
Floor coverings, safety gear, lasers. Let's stop there for a second. Lasers and lights. You can't use lasers. Just no. Helium balloons, check with us. Some venues allow them, but if you let one go, they might charge you a couple $100 to go retrieve it. They don't allow BB guns to shoot them out of the ceiling, so you got to be a little cautious with that. Aerosol propelled paint, no. Fire, smoke, and dry ice, no. Internal combustion engines, no. Flames, no. There's a lot of stuff in here that you cannot do during the course of the performance. Let's scroll down a little bit more to get to the electrical, because that's, again, I was hoping to find. It's not too much further, I don't think.
Hold on. Actually, you can use dry ice. You just have to make sure you have all the safety procedures in place.
And that has changed.
Yes, it has changed from this year, and actually due to a Colorado team. If anybody feels, you need to make sure your tournament director knows you're using dry ice, and you have to make sure you have the proper safety equipment. If the tournament officials feel like that your team is going to get hurt, they won't let you use it.
And of course, animals. No live animals may be used as any part of your solution. This leads to an awful DI joke, which is, you got a live animal? Fwhack! Not anymore. Um, so no, there have been pelts used of animals, but no live animals are allowed. Use of electricity. Okay. Um, your team solution may use either AC or DC power. If you're using DC, it should, and it's provided by batteries or any other source. The maximum is 28 volts. AC, you'll be using 110 volt from the main lines, and you're going to have to do it safely. So anything that is wired by the team must be inspected by a competent team manager, and it'll also be looked at by the prep area appraiser to make sure there's nothing unsafe involved there. Let's see. Only unmodified commercially available batteries are allowed, and these are only the type that are gel cells or nickel cadmium or lithium hydride or nickel hydride, or anyway, dry batteries so they can't spill. Batteries may be connected in series or parallel, but you can't go over 28 volts.
Where'd it go? Where'd it go?
Scroll down gently.
I wasn't trying to scroll down ungently. It just jumps. Oh, there we go. I think that's it. Flammable. That's it.
Okay. Well, I think we go a little bit further.
So
go to the next page.
Yeah, I am on the next page.
It's scrolling back to the same.
Oh, it's going to. Sorry. Let's go to. Sorry, people. There we go.
No. DC voltage cannot exceed 28 volts between any two exposed points in a circuit. Okay. I suppose technically, if it's internal to the thing, it's completely covered over with a metal cover, so that no access. You might end up with more than 28 volts. If you're going to do that, get a hold of the tournament director or the challenge master first. Let them know what's going on. If you're using high current devices, for instance, electric motors, you're going to have a circuit breaker or fuse if there's more than 10 amp draw on your circuit. We have had some cases where the wires started smoking due to current draw on some of these things, and so we don't want that to happen. It could cause a fire, and it certainly could cause burns, so we don't want that to happen. We need current limiting devices. And then if you're using AC current, there's a thing called a ground fault interrupter. It's available as an end of an extension cord, and it's required if you're drawing more than 1,000 watts of power. I would recommend using GFIs anytime you're using a 110 volt circuit. Just in general principles, they're exempt from cost. You don't have to cost them out, but you should have them. Conceivably, there may be one already at the site, but we can't guarantee that. So, and if you're using chemicals or any other unusual stuff, you may be asked to produce a material safety data sheet and carefully explain what's going on with the chemical reaction. Baking soda and vinegar, that's not too big a deal. Those are both household things. But if you're using something that generates high temperatures or a lot of gases, we want to know about it ahead of time. We want to make sure it's safe. And of course, firearms and weapons are pretty much verboten. We cannot keep you from using a model or a home created thing, but remember, some schools have zero tolerance policies, and they could conceivably get in trouble with that if they have even a fake homemade weapon.
Denver Public Schools is very, very strict about this. So if they want to use a gun as a part of their solution, I would just ask them questions to steer them away from that, to think of other alternatives. I know that many school districts are very leery of this, unless they're just two-dimensional, drawn on a piece of paper or something. That might go. But almost any three-dimensional facsimile will be not allowed. And that's mostly due to district policy, not our policy.
Okay, I think that's about it for the safety part. Again, you should read over the entire rules of the road safety section just to make sure you know what's going on.
Do you have suggestions on where third graders might be able to go learn about different ways of movement?
Well, some of the K'NEX and Lego things have little things you can build. I mean, the design of that walking spider robot actually came from, I think, a K'NEX set that had a little walking spider, and it eventually ended up getting scaled up and modified till it was 3 feet long and 2 feet tall. So you can find things like that that are out there, and it doesn't. The information doesn't have to come from the team manager. It can come from friends, neighbors, Uncle Bill, who's an electrical engineer. You know, have the team talk to people who are experts in the field. Let them find out about it. Don't let the people who are giving advice see the challenge. Make them give advice in a general matter, and then the team can apply it to their solution.
Right, and I've been involved actually on that side of it, on the structural side. I've been asked to kind of give some talks and stuff. So it's definitely an option to try and reach out in the community, and like Larry says, you kind of, you maybe find I don't know if you're talking about mechanical movement or biological movement or what, but you start talking to somebody and somebody can come and definitely explain principles of mechanical engineering, and I've done it where I've explained a lot of principles of structural engineering, and Larry's right. It's much easier if you don't know what the challenge is, that you won't accidentally start giving solutions away, but you can bring somebody else, reach out to as many people as you can think of. People, I think, tend to be very, very helpful when approached.
I would also just ask, especially this is mostly if you have younger, I think, if you have third or fourth graders, you're going to approach this a little differently than if you have older students. But have the kids bring anything that they have in their toy box that moves, and you'll see that there's going to be a variety of ways that those toys move, from engines or whatever, to springs, to rubber bands, to magnets. There's a lot of ways in which toys move that you can extrapolate out.
Excellent idea.
A trip to the toy store, if that's an option, or a place like that, to be inspired by what others have come up with. That's not always easy with teams, but when that's a possibility, you can do it, and you can actually do it online by flipping through, top toys and things like that on websites, and get inspired that way.
Okay, good answer. I've never, our team manager, Sarah, who's on the line, says the Children's Museum of Denver has a current kinetics exhibit that might be useful. I know that the Denver Museum of Nature and Science used to have an exhibit about movement. I'm not sure if it's still there. Okay.
Is this something that is reasonable to put that on some resources where we could put some links or some things that would maybe give people some inspiration, or is that getting too involved?
We can definitely do that. If you want to send me some links and I'll look up some, we can put them online.
Absolutely.
Okay, Larry, anything else?
The only last part of it, which we haven't really talked about, is the where the points come from, and this is probably more important to the more advanced teams who want to strategize as to where are we going to go to get the maximum number of points. Where do we want to spend our time? And That's page 21.
Yep,
of the
I'm getting there.
Technical challenge. As you can probably guess, because the story and team choice elements represent well over 100 points, a team that's going to win at the regionals or at the state can't do just technical. I mean, I know there's a tendency to say, we got tech, we don't need no stinking story. But in reality, with as many points as there are for story and team choice elements, you can't ignore those and expect to do well. So, for the creature actions A, B, and C, you get 10 points if they're done, none if they're not done. That's not subjective, that's objective. We either see it or we don't. And then for the technical design and innovation, there's 30 points there, so that's 3 times as many as just having completed it. You've got to, based on the technical merit, the design and creativity, that's a lot. And then the repeated action bonuses is 0 or 5. And again, if you do it successfully after the first, all 3 have been completed once, you do it again, each of them, you get another 5 points. I would venture to say that most of the winning teams will get all of those points. It's going to be decided more on the technical design and innovation than it is on whether it's done or not. World features, successful demonstration of the world feature 1 is 0 to 5 or 5, and 0 or 5 for world feature 2. So it's either there or it isn't. Those again are objectively scored. And then the technical design and innovation are 20 points for each of the features. You'll notice that you get more points for working on your creature than you do on your features, so that's something to consider. Story adventure is 55 points, so it's worth every bit as much and actually a bit more than the world. And so you got to have the creativity, and the creativity of the role of the creature, the integration, and the storytelling. This is all sort of a piece. I mean, they're going to be evaluating it separately, but sort of production values matter. The more integrated it is, the smoother it flows, the more creative it looks to the and finished it looks to the judge, the higher scores you're going to get from the appraisers. And then team choice elements, those are all subjective. Creativity, originality, 10 points. Quality workmanship, 10 points. Integration, 10 points. And I'm sorry to say that there's no way we can be absolutely certain that's going to be fair. I've, as a team manager, I had occasion to take a team to a regional, then to state, then to globals, and we had a box. It was a disappearing box that had mirrors in it. Kid could stand inside it, and it was one of our team choice elements, and the design and create everything of the box. And at the regional tournament, that was a very good team choice element. At the state tournament, it was a very good team choice element. At the globals, it scored rather putridly. It barely got 15 points. I guess they thought, it's just a box, big deal. So you don't know what the judges or the appraisers are going to be able to score on this, but generally speaking, the more creative and original and the better quality you put of workmanship, the higher score you're going to get. Not guaranteed, but generally speaking.
Okay. What counts as, this is a question from the team managers, what counts as a repeat action as far as creature actions?
Oh, well, whatever it did the first time. Whatever it did for action 1, it does it again, and it in some other context perhaps. It performs the same sort of action. For instance, moving, moving across the floor. In one case, it moves one direction, and after it's done some stuff, it moves back the other way. All right, it's done two actions. It's pretty straightforward, I think. The only issue you're going to get is if your actions are not exactly comparable to each other, You may have to be a little bit careful in how you define them if you intend to use two rather disparate things for your action. My example of laying an egg and then splitting it into two would be kind of a risky course to take. If it lays an egg once, it ought to lay an egg again to be absolutely sure you're going to get scored for that.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else you guys want to cover? Dave, Bill, Larry?
The one last thing I would say is going back to the beginning, and that is, in the spirit of DI, if it doesn't say you can't do it, you can. So we've touched a lot on the things it says you can't do in rules of the road and so forth, and those are important to remember. But the ambition of the program is to think of things you can do and make those happen. So if it doesn't say you can't, you can. And then the other sort of caveat that goes with that phrase is always, if it says you must, you must. And having worked with teams of a lot of ages and skills, I can say it's often very helpful to just go through the challenge and highlight or underline the word must every time, because it's amazing how many teams show up and seem to have failed to notice that something was a required element even though it's in the score sheet. So highlight the musts as a reminder to the team, and then after you understand the things you can't do, try to turn focus to all the things you can do.
Excellent.
It never hurts to read the challenge one more time. It's amazing how the fifth or sixth reading you will discover something you missed the first time or fourth time through. So the other thing is, this is a very minor point, but on the tournament data forms and that you're going to turn in, some of those are provided to you on both sides of a piece of paper. When you give them to us, one-side copies, please. We have to tear them apart and pass them out amongst the appraisers, and it's much easier if one isn't trying to read the front while someone else is trying to read the back at the same time. Burn up a couple extra pieces of paper, and it'll make life easier for us.
And Larry will plant a tree on your behalf.
There you go.
All right. We'll take any more questions. This webinar, if you have any questions, just post them online. We will be sharing this webinar on our YouTube channel, as Bill said at the beginning. And never hesitate to call or email any one of us, and we will make sure we get your questions answered. If you have specific questions, make sure you get a clarification from the international site.
Right. We'll be more than willing to give you our opinion, but that's all it counts is our opinion. The opinion of the International Challenge Masters is binding on everybody. So they're the ones to go to for the definitive answer.
All right. It doesn't seem like there are any more questions, gentlemen.
Okay.
All right.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I think I'm fine.
Yeah, not that I can think of.
All right. Well, thank you all for attending our webinar this evening. We really appreciate you taking the time to learn about your challenge. We really appreciate you as team managers. You guys are the real key to our program, and you do so much amazing work. So thank you very much, and thanks to our ACMs, Bill, Larry, and Dave. We really appreciate your time as well. And thank you very much, and have a nice evening.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.